Hi everyone, welcome to the IHG Skills Academy kickoff, partnered by Otolo. My name is James Lemon, the founder of Otolo, and we're really excited to be working with IHG and their new Skills Academy. Before we get the event started, I want to welcome to the stage Andrew Franks, who's going to be telling you all about the Skills Academy and how it works. Hi Andrew, good to have you here.
Hi, James. Thank you for handing over. Hopefully everyone can hear and see me okay. You can see at the bottom of the screen, I'm Andrew Franks. I'm the Global Director for Talent and Performance at IHG. I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes telling you a little bit about IHG Skills Academy and how we got here. So back in February of this year, IHG launched our 10-year responsible business plan, The Journey to Tomorrow. Some of you may have heard of that already. And specifically within that, we launched a couple of bold commitments. One of those was to positively impact the lives of 30 million people around the world in the communities we operate in. And specifically within that goal, we said we would love to provide skills building and education to those that need it most. And so enter IHG Skills Academy. So back in October, we launched our online free learning platform that has a host of different resources, skills building, materials, collateral, online e-learning, all for free for anyone, online, accessible anywhere. So we're really proud of this achievement. And on this site, what you can find is resources around mental health and well-being, everything you'd want to know about the hospitality industry, and also some great materials and assets around the future of work and what it would take to be successful in the future world that we work in. So all of these materials were only able to be brought together because of some fantastic partnerships. So we work with NGOs, we work with charity partners, we work with different organizations and companies that share the same values as ourselves. And so what we were able to do is bring all those organizations together to bring together resources, materials, different learning from all of their different organizations and put them into one place in this online learning platform that you can find at www.ihgskillsacademy.com. So I would really encourage you, if you haven't seen this today already, I would go on, log in, have a look around the resources. Please do familiarize yourself with it. And really, really importantly, I'd love for you to be able to share that with your partners, with those people that you think would benefit from it most, and just get the word out there, because we've managed to pull together a really nice collection of resources that we think can impact and help people with barriers to entry and help support them on their journey, hopefully to find employment in the future. And seamlessly, one of those partners that we worked with was Otolo. And so we're working together today to host this live event, but also we're working with the organization, hopefully in 2022 and beyond, to provide some different experiences like mentoring for free, again, through the platform to anyone that could benefit from it. And I think we all know the benefit of having mentors in our lives and in the hospitality industry especially. And so what we're doing as part of this wider initiative to get skills building out there is we're going to do some live events as well, of which today is the first one, of course. And then we plan on running numerous more in 2022 and beyond. And so I guess that's a good opportunity for me to hand over to James from Otolo, and also just to thank them for their partnership and helping us in our inaugural event, as he'll do his bit to introduce some fantastic guest speakers that we've got lined up. So, James, over to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Look, and what a fab mission it is. I think, hospitality's had a really hard time over the last 18 months. It really is front page news that it's a challenging industry. If you want to get started in the sector, there's some instability right now, and there are definitely challenges. But I think that the sector has so much to offer, and we're obviously preaching to the converted because we love hospitality and are building careers in it. But time and again, we constantly meet people at different stages of their career with just a real passion for hospitality, and that's really what Otolo is all about. We started Otolo 18 months ago as a mentoring offering for anyone who was passionate about the world of hotels, the world of restaurants, the world of events, or the big supply ecosystem that goes around it. It's a democratic industry. You really can start at the bottom and work your way up and run your own businesses and lead teams and get into any kind of function, whether it be marketing, technology, operations, HR. It's just such a broad industry. But often when you're just getting started, really the only person you've got to turn to is your boss. And if your boss isn't necessarily giving you the inspiration, the development opportunities, the avenues to try different things or see how wide the industry is, we lose people. and about 80% of people leave hospitality in their first year because of that. So Otolo was really designed to be those connections, that access, that place you can come and access the best and the whole of the industry. We're at about 2,000 members and just over 100 mentors. It's entirely free for individuals to use, and it's funded by our work with partners like IHG, La Roche, Glion, and many more. And we're absolutely delighted whenever we can to plug ourselves into industry initiatives which are all about growing talent. So we were hoping today to introduce you to three fabulous people from one from the hotel space, one from the restaurant space, and one from the event space, just to showcase how different people have got started in their careers and impart a little bit of a mentoring moment, if you like, some of their thoughts and suggestions on what they did when they were thinking about hospitality, when they were just getting started, and then as they thought about progressing through the industry. There's plenty of time to ask questions and throw positive, constructive comments our way. So for those of you that are watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, do feel free to drop us a comment and leave us some thoughts. I'll run a little test now, if you like, to check everyone's comments are working. It would be fab to hear where everyone is in the UK or in the world. So drop us a note and let us know where you're sitting. If you're in the UK, I'm sure you're probably working from home, but you may have just grabbed a moment kind of between on a break. But it'd be lovely to hear from everyone. And we will get started. I'm going to bring up our guests kind of one at a time, I think, but it's absolutely time to meet the panel. Our first guest is from the world of hotels. So Trudy, welcome to the stage. Let's say welcome to the show.
Hi.
I'm getting carried away with this mock TV studio. Lovely to have you here. Obviously, you've been in hotels for a little while now with Rare Bird and Amber Road and Hotel Scene. What was really telling when I went through your LinkedIn profile is just how many businesses there are in hospitality. Because I've been working in hospitality for a decade, and I was like, I don't really know much about the businesses you've worked for. I think there's something like 8 million hotel hospitality businesses around the world, and you've worked for 3 that I've probably never heard from. So really excited to hear about your career journey. But obviously, I'm also deeply really excited about Molly's, the new project by Soho House. So look, over to you. Maybe you could summarize your career for us a little bit and give us some thoughts on hospitality as you see it today.
Sure. Hi, I'm Trudy, as you just found out. I've been in hospitality for over 20 years, so lived it and breathed it my whole adult life. I currently head up the people and development side of Molly's Motel and Diners. So Molly's is a Soho House designed, very cool venue. There's 2 now, Oxfordshire and Bristol, with another one entering the market in Manchester next year. So big growth plans over the next 10 years. But I'm responsible for all things culture, training, people, and most importantly, employee experience. My journey's been very diverse. So I studied hospitality and tourism, and then went to work for a little independent hotel in Bath, and which meant back then I was a housekeeper, I was a receptionist, I was front of house. I was carrying luggage. I did everything, which, there was no prescriptive job descriptions necessarily. So it was actually the best experience I've ever had in terms of really understanding a whole operation and having a really good insight into the most integral roles and the importance of people and personalities in business. I crossed over to a hotel and conference agency, which is Hotel Scene. And Amber Road, which then took me into a completely different side of hospitality. And we were working with global clients and venues to deliver such events like Glastonbury, I'm a Celebrity, and really, really cool events from that side, but being responsible from the whole event experience and negotiating with clients to be able to deliver those. So it took me in a completely different world and had completely different experiences. And then from that, I ended up growing with that business for 18 years, actually stayed there for 18 years, starting as one of five employees and ending over 150 when I left. But I had commercial roles and operational roles and was able to adapt and grow with that business, which is really exciting. I think that's the best thing about hospitality is that you're never still, you're never stuck. You can move about and you can grow and develop. as a person. But it actually made me really look at the people side of it, because people are the most important part of the business, which is why I then went off to study a bit more. And I'm still studying. I'm still going to continue to study whilst I'm working as the people and development manager, head of people at Molly's. So yeah, it's changed and grown my world, and there's been so many opportunities. When I'm thinking about things like barriers that I've experienced, I think that's what's driven me into my current role. In terms of 60% of people in hospitality are females, and for sure I've had to fight and battle at certain points over the 20 years. It's very much changed now, and that's getting better and better. But yeah, I'm very much about supporting, mentoring, and cheerleading females within the industry. I work for Molly's, who are very much of that ilk and very much supportive of championing the gender, the change in more leadership roles. So I'm really pleased that I can put my experiences and my involvement with people to that agenda, and change the narrative on that. And I know that's something that we'll continue to do. If I think about what the best things about hospitality are and why I love hospitality, it gives you so much permission to be creative. Also love that I love people, and they're clearly everywhere. You get to travel the world. I got to travel the world. You can do anything, anywhere in hospitality, because you can either stay exactly where you are, or you can travel and be part of it. So it's definitely given me loads of opportunities and made me excited to do lots of different things all around the globe. And there's no restrictive box. There's so much opportunity, and like I said, I've never felt stuck. Going from operational roles to commercial roles to people-centric roles, and I'm still learning and still experiencing new things. And I've seen so many amazing places that probably I wouldn't have had the budget to do if I wasn't in hospitality. But yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and there's lots of opportunities in the future that probably haven't yet been established or created for people. And I think that's the most exciting thing. If I look back at the 20 years of my hospitality journey, how much has changed, and the opportunities it's afforded me. It's got to be exciting for people in the future, especially because experiences now are really valued by everybody, and hospitality can offer so many different experiences to customers and clients, and being part of that journey is really exciting. And there's changes in technology, etc., that will continue to play a part and make things different for people, and I think that that's going to be a great offering for everybody going forward, especially when flexibility and well-being as well as part and parcel of the future of hospitality and being employed. There's so much changing on the landscape. It's going to make that a better journey for everybody, and I think having that as the main focus of the agenda going forward is going to make hospitality a really great place to be.
Yeah, love that. So much to unpick there, but that's absolutely amazing. Thanks for sharing all that with us, Trudy. I guess one thing I'd love to ask, you've shifted between functions, and that's I think something that people love about hospitality. What did you do right in just before that happened, I suppose? What was it that made you think it's time for something new, and how did you go about getting that support? Because I sometimes feel like if you're in a role and you maybe got a slight lack of confidence, there's a lot going on at the moment, it's sometimes hard to put your hand up to say, actually, I'm ready for something different. So we'd love to know how you approach that.
I've always been very motivated. I'm a really motivated person, but also people make me motivated, and the teams around you, and wanting to do better for people, wanting to be better. I think definitely, when you've worked in every area of, like, for hotel scene, for example, I worked there for 18 years and I lived and grew up there, and was fortunate. I worked really hard, but I was fortunate enough to be allowed and afforded to be chucked into different parts of that business that really then made me look what works for people, what doesn't work for people, and what's good about it, what's not good about it. And I think that in itself made me want to change it. It made me want to be part of the change, and therefore you can only do that if you step up and you stand forward. And it definitely people are everything. People are everything to me. People are everything to a business. And if you want to help them, if you want to make the change, you have to lead by example and do that.
Love it. Thanks so much. That's fab. Look, we will definitely have you back to be unpicking some of these items for various different things in about 20 minutes time. But thanks for that. Really appreciate you sharing with us. So I was just going through some of the comments that people have left. It looks like we've got some people from the UK. It looks like we've got people from North Carolina in the US, all the way over from Glasgow. Michael, great to have you here. Sar joining us from Nigeria. We've got people from India and Kenya. It feels like this IHG Skills Academy has already gone global, and fab to have so many people here from around the world as part of it and championing it. Thanks so much for joining us. Next up on the stage, I want to invite Olajide. So Olajide, we only met a couple of weeks ago, but I think instantly it was a good meeting of minds. It's just like, yeah, there's so much we can do in this industry to encourage people to speak up and stand up and progress. But would love to give you some time to explain a little bit about your journey in hospitality, probably what you love about it, and potentially one of the things I know you're passionate about, some of the barriers that you faced as well, and what's kind of coming next in terms of overcoming those. So welcome to the IHG Skills Academy session. Feel free to give us some thoughts.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Olajide Alabi. I'm currently the Equality and Inclusion Partner over at Turtle Bay. I also run a Equality, Inclusion and Wellbeing consultancy called Sisu. I like to wear different hats at different times. But I guess my journey, it started when I was a wee boy at the age of 15 at TGI Fridays. And I think that was actually quite a turning point for me in my life, in terms of I was young and I really struggled with finding my place at school. And actually going to work at TGI Fridays, I found like this family of people that were just vibrant, fun. Everyone was so different. And actually everyone was really quite diverse in their own rights, because there were so many different people from different areas, different age groups and stuff. So yeah, TGI Fridays is where I started my journey, and I've never looked back since then, I guess. I worked my way up in restaurants, worked for different brands within the restaurant industry, did a few hotels as well, did management roles, and then decided that I wanted my life back, my social life. So I decided to move and switch into doing something in head office and support center role. So then I moved into recruitment. Literally, it was potluck, I would call it, because I had a bad shift one day for a restaurant brand, and someone headhunted me and just said, "Are you interested in a role in recruitment?" And I was like, "No, absolutely not." And before you know it, I was working for a recruitment agency, recruiting people within the hospitality sector. So I didn't run away from hospitality. I stayed in hospitality, and I worked recruiting event staff in the hospitality sector for various events across London. And I did recruitment for 10 years, working in a mixture of agency, and then moved in-house. I had an amazing experience working at Wetherspoons, which is a beast of a business to kind of work in, and recruiting for over 950 pubs and hotels across the UK, which was literally, I don't know, it was just like, I can't describe the things that I learned, the things that I saw in terms of how a business operates of that size, and the campaigns that we were able to run, because obviously we've got a bigger budget than most places, was just incredible. And actually, it was, again, that was another turning point for me in my career, where I was like, I really found my calling, which was recruitment and people, and working with people in a people function. I was lucky enough to work on a couple of cool recruitment marketing campaigns at Wetherspoons, which then got my creative juices flowing, and I realized I really am quite creative. And then I again took that kind of skill and moved to another hospitality brand called Gourmet Burger Kitchen, where I was able to, use my creativity and relaunch their careers website. And I did some really cool creative stuff with GBK, and also started to find my passion around diversity, inclusion, and well-being. And I guess how it came around is because I was in charge of that strategy at Gourmet Burger Kitchen, which was it was like, hospitality is an industry that is actually naturally really, really diverse. And you know, if you go anywhere in hospitality, you'll find a mixture of people from different social backgrounds, from different ethnicities, different sexualities, gender, etc. But actually, what you find is that as an industry, we kind of sit back and go, oh, we're diverse, and actually we don't do enough around inclusion and equity. And I saw that at GBK, and it was something that I really was passionate about trying to change. Unfortunately, Pani came around, and everything kind of changed again, and you know, the way that we as a business were working changed, and focus has changed. And unfortunately, I got made redundant. But during that time, I was able to really sit back and reflect, and decided that this is the part of the world, that this space that I really wanted to focus on. So diversity, inclusion, equity, equality was something that I wanted to do more around, which is what led me to set up my consultancy called Sisu. And then I luckily landed an amazing opportunity to change things and disrupt the space at Turtle Bay, which is where I am now. So that's fantastic. That's my little journey in about 100 miles an hour. And I guess the barriers that I faced in my journey, putting it quite bluntly, it's just going to be around racism, I guess. Unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of work that needs to still be done around stereotyping, around unconscious bias and conscious bias, overt racism and covert racism, microaggressions as well. And actually, when I was working my way up the ladder, I guess what I found really difficult for me personally was that I didn't see anyone that looked like me, or that sounded like me, or had a name like me, going up the ranks, or anyone in management or leadership roles. And so I had nothing to aspire to. And that's actually quite difficult when you're looking to progress your career, or looking for a mentor, because actually your experience as a Black person is quite different to those experiences of your white counterpart. And actually, I really needed that, I think, in some points of my career. So that was a massive, I think, barrier for me. And also, unfortunately, you know, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, feeling like I didn't deserve a place in the spaces that I was working. So those are two of my, I guess, big barriers. And it's one of those things that one of the reasons why I love hospitality is because although it's a barrier, people in hospitality are so open-minded and are so willing to change and willing to learn and willing to do the work. And that is why I love hospitality so much, is because we've got the grounds, we've got the foundations to be insanely incredible compared to any other industry. We need more money, really, to be able to invest in our people. And that is quite hard sometimes when, you know, you see sales plummeting and it's up and down all the time. And it's really hard to get that stable amount of sales coming in, so then you can invest that back into your people. But I think the opportunity that we have for the future is to invest more time in looking at our internal progression, and looking at how equitable it is for people and how accessible it is, because I think everyone has an internal progression plan, everyone has like career pathways and stuff like that. But actually, when you look at it and you think, well, how equitable is it? If you put everyone on a career pathway, you'll be expecting everybody to achieve the same by not looking at how individuals perform, and not looking at how individuals might need individual support and guidance to give them that leg up, so that everyone's on an equal playing field. So I think that's kind of where I see the future of hospitality, is us really looking at how equitable it is.
Yeah, no, I love that. Thanks for sharing with us. There's obviously some really personal stories in there as well, and some difficult ones, I'm sure. I guess if you were, you know, speaking to a young person looking at hospitality, or just starting hospitality, potentially facing some of the challenges you've faced, I guess, where would you tell them to start, you know, in terms of, you know, getting involved in the conversation around diversity and inclusion? You know, do you think people do feel a little bit powerless or underconfident, or are there spaces now where people are having that conversation and potentially we're all, you know, got a chance to improve?
I think my advice to anybody because I think one thing I wish I heard someone tell me when I was starting off was, don't ever feel like you can't voice your opinion, because there's so many times that people try and silence you, unfortunately. And you know, it's easy for you just to run away. And actually, what I always tell people now is that it's actually more brave for you to show your vulnerability and to be confident. So I always tell people to be brave, be vulnerable, and be confident. And I think for me, I think if you're struggling to find your space or kind of find your voice, I think it's trying to connect with people who are like-minded, and sharing those ideas in smaller groups before you then go off and do them in a bigger space. And I think as well, especially in this space, when it comes to equality, inclusion and inequity, I think people always are quite quick off the mark in telling you, oh, that's the wrong thing, or that's not right, or you're not saying this, or you're not woke enough, and stuff like that. And actually, the one thing that I have learned, especially someone that has faced racism and discrimination and stuff, is actually there's nothing good comes out of pointing the finger and calling people out. And actually, what I always tell people is that it's better to call people in and say, well, actually, look, that's not how I would probably communicate in that sort of situation, or teaching people the better way of doing things and teaching people the new languages. I think we need to move away from this whole calling out culture and cancel culture, and it's more about actually how do we call people in and how do we educate people, because realistically, you go to school, you go to university, you do not learn some of this. You don't learn that this is the wrong behavior. This is all stuff that society has taught us, and this is all stuff we've seen on TV, and you know, this is all stuff that's embedded into our culture. So actually, to expect people to know that on their own is incredibly impossible. So I think actually, we all have a responsibility to go out and teach each other the languages, teach people the right things to say, teach people and give people an understanding of why this isn't right and why that doesn't sound too right if you speak to certain people. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of those where we always happy to just go, that's wrong, and we never call people in and go, actually this is the right way of doing it, and the reason why this is the right way of doing it is because of this reason, and I think that's more powerful. And so I always say to people when they're trying to get into this space is listen, and listen with intent to try and change the dial and change the conversation, rather than listening to try and point someone's wrongdoings.
Yeah, no, look, I think that's great. I'm definitely going to be borrowing the phrase "call people in, don't call people out." I think that's absolutely beautiful, and it's so true. I think at Otolo, one of the things that always makes a great mentor is someone who listens first and is on their own learning journey. And this concept of reverse mentoring, where actually young people who do have a broader view of the world and do have a broader view of these subjects have got a great opportunity to reverse mentor and really help older people who've been thinking, you know, in a very different way for their careers, just how the future needs to be and how we can be much more inclusive and diverse. So we definitely get a lot of that. So yeah, love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That's fab. Great, lovely. Well, look, lots of kind of good comments spinning through. One more panelist to meet, which I'm really excited about. Someone that I've known for probably just over a year now. Welcome to the stage, Naomi. Great to have you here. So Naomi set up an organization called Event Grads at the start of the pandemic, really, I think, trying to take charge of actually how do you support young people passionate about careers in events. So Naomi, I'll absolutely let you tell the story, but would love to get your perspective on, you know, the area of the industry you're passionate about and some of the discussions that you think need to be had and are being had around careers in hospitality.
Of course. So hello, everyone. My name is Naomi Hollis, originally from the very north of Scotland, currently in Edinburgh. So my journey kind of started in, where did it start? It feels like so long ago now, and it really wasn't. But I think the last couple of years have really put things into perspective in that sense. So I'm actually an international event management graduate from 2019. I graduated from Glasgow Caledonian University. That's definitely the middle of the story and not the beginning. But I came out of school and had no idea what I wanted to do. I came out with 2 C's, like no grades whatsoever that could get me anywhere that I kind of wanted to go. But it wasn't even that I had the grades to go anywhere. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had no idea that, you know, I could get careers in hospitality or events or anything along those lines. So I worked part-time pretty much for 2 years when I finished school. I started working in my local football club, a homeware store, and I was just doing anything I could really to kind of get out the house and figure out what I wanted to do with myself. And while I was young, I was a gymnast, and through my Scottish gymnastics, through my gymnastics team, I got the opportunity to volunteer at the Commonwealth Games. I think that's probably where the start began. And that's where I was sold on not only the event industry, which is where I am now, it sold me on Glasgow. And that next summer, I moved down to Glasgow and started at City of Glasgow College. So my career kind of started in college. It allowed me to get into university, and it also allowed me to understand what I wanted to do and that I was in the right place when I started my courses. I really kind of thrived in those environments and realized that this is where I wanted to be. It's funny looking back because I went in thinking I wanted to do weddings and that I never wanted to touch a music festival in my life. And I now do the complete opposite. I don't like weddings, and most of my background is in Scottish music festivals. So it's interesting how your journey kind of takes you in different places that you never really would have expected. While I was at college, I got the opportunity to attend École Hôtelière de Lausanne, which is a hospitality school in Switzerland. It was a 3-day kind of like executive learning course, which was the most insane experience I have ever gone through my life. It was just incredible to be learning from like the very best in an incredible location. And yeah, that really kind of turned things for me. At the time I was working at Glasgow Blytheswood Square, which I'm pretty sure is an IHG hotel. It definitely was when I was there. So big up. But Blytheswood was my home for 3.5 years. It propelled me through college, through university. It allowed me to meet some of my best friends who are in the comments, which is excellent. And yeah, that was a really incredible place to work. It was a 5-star hotel. I got to meet incredible people, got to experience providing such incredible customer service. One of their kind of morals was local at heart. So it was a 5-star service, as 5-star as a service can be, but it was local at heart. So we were able to be ourselves and kind of put that Scottish culture across, which was amazing. And I graduated in 2019. And when I graduated, I went into my first graduate job, which was in festivals. I was an event office manager on site at Transmit in Glasgow, which was the most, again, insane experience ever. Never expected to be there, but it was just outstanding and really kind of solidified what I was doing again, that, I came out of uni and I was like, this is amazing. I'm really enjoying this. I then went into another job after that. It was a 6-month job. So I went into another one. Then the pandemic hit and I was lost. I did every course under the sun. I did a course with Florida Atlantic University called Tourism and Hospitality, which was outstanding. If you get the chance to have a look at that, Peter Ritchie did a great course during the pandemic. And I was just doing every course under the sun that I could do to kind of continue to learn, to upskill. I was terrified of coming out of the pandemic and not have done anything. I think that's I find it hard to stop. And I don't know if that's an events and hospitality thing. And we'll chat about mental health and things later, but I find it very hard to just do nothing. The first 2 weeks, I redecorated my whole entire room as much as I could during a pandemic because I just could not stop. And I did all these courses and it was great. And I started reaching out on LinkedIn and I just was not getting anything in response, which is completely understandable considering the circumstances. Like even the professionals had no idea what was going on. And I was reaching out like, right, what more can I do? And it got to a stage where there was nothing. There was, what more could you do in that situation? So I started to write articles on LinkedIn about the courses I was doing, what was out there, trying to, get kind of conversation going about what we could continue doing and continue to learn while we were in this position. And that's where Event Grads came along. So I am the founder of a community for event management students and graduates like myself called Event Grads. We're primarily on Facebook, but we're on other social media channels too. And during lockdown, what kind of began as a group for my friends and people that I knew continued to grow and grow and grow as academics and professionals got involved and really saw that there was a demand for a community for this cohort that really had been untapped before. So during lockdown, we did webinars, resources, blogs. We did Event Grads Cafe, which was a lovely opportunity to just chat to each other and meet people that were in the exact same position as you are and kind of exchange knowledge with each other. And that's been continuing every day since June 2020. And during from March 2021, I got a new job, which was amazing in virtual events, virtual conferences. But Event Grads kind of fell to the wayside a little bit during that period. It was more of a conversation and things like that rather than having the webinars and events and things. And then I recently handed in my notice at that job, which is very heartbreaking, but at the same time, I'm just really excited for this kind of next step and kind of taking Event Grads to the next step. And my current role is working with Celtic Connections, which is a festival up in Glasgow that takes place from the 20th of January to mid-Feb. And it's in Glasgow, yeah. So that's kind of really not short. I'm not very good at the short introductions, but that's a little bit kind of about who I am and my kind of first couple of years within the hospitality industry. Yeah.
Love that. No, thanks, Naomi. No, lots of things I'd love to kind of chat through there. But so let's kind of get into our bit of a round table, if you like. Let's get everyone back on. Be good to kind of have a bit of a group chat. So Trudy, come on if you want. Olajide, Andrew, let's get everyone back in. I want to have a really good discussion about all kinds of topics, but it feels like let's start with something really positive. You know, with everything going on, why should someone be thinking about a hospitality job, you know, next couple of years? Let's not even talk about careers right now. What is it that makes hospitality still a great place to start your career? Who wants to kick us off with that one?
Maybe I can, seeing as you guys have all just done the hard work of
everyone
doing
else can
all
take a drink.
Yeah, you can take a breather for a second. And I think it's a really exciting time to be considering a role in hospitality. I think we keep saying as the pandemic, I don't know whether we can say it's coming to a close, whether we can say it's in the middle or whether it's near the end. I don't know. But as we look to the future, and invariably where the pandemic will start to become more manageable and become part of life as usual, there's a huge opportunity to join the hospitality industry in what will be a huge resurgence. There's clearly a massive passion for travel. There's a massive passion for events. There's a massive passion for corporate events, you know, whatever way you might look at it. Everyone's desperate to get back out there, whether that be in a hotel or bars or restaurants or live events. People want to get back into that again. And so to work in that environment and be a part of what I think will be a huge revival, and also the acceleration of our industry, because I think with that revival will come new appetite, will come new offerings, will come new ways of working. And so there's just so many opportunities going to be available. And it's not even in the future, it's now. Most businesses are looking to build and bring in great talent at this time. And I suppose what I would say is, you know, wherever you are, you know, literally in the world listening to this, or when you listen to this as a playback through the IHG Skills Academy, if you've never had a job before, if you're thinking about being a job changer, or whatever the circumstances you might have, you might be facing a barrier to entry, there is a role for you in the hospitality industry. We've just heard from 3 very unique journeys of where they found the industry in a different way, and have all had very fulfilling careers as a result of it. And my own story is similar in terms of, you know, I found hospitality because it gave me the means to afford study. I didn't have the means to afford study. And so I worked in a bar and a restaurant and paid for my study through that work. And then I ended up back in the hospitality industry because I was so passionate about it. And so, you know, it opens doors is what I'm saying. And so now is a great time to come and be a part of what is one of the most amazing industries in the world.
Yeah, love it. Thanks for that. Trudy, any thoughts?
I just think I echo everything you've just said. It's been through such a change, but the people that are coming on board are just excited and passionate, and they want to be part of that. And I think that it's a great time to join those people. And everybody is so close in network across the industry. I think that once you're in it, you kind of have friends for life, and I think that I think that's a great thing to have as a young person or somebody joining the business.
Yeah, love it. Naomi, any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with hospitality, it's so interdisciplinary. It's very varied. There's transferable skills throughout. So even if you're in an area of hospitality that you want to change into another area of hospitality, or you're entering the industry from a completely other industry, that other industry is going to bring so many skills into the hospitality industry that's going to continue to develop it. And I just think that's so exciting. Like the industry is just great, and you meet so many new people, and there's areas within the industry that you won't even know until you're in the industry, if that makes sense. Like there's areas within hospitality I didn't even know existed when I was, I don't know, at the football stadium. So yeah, I think the hospitality industry is really great. I read something recently about how within events specifically, the technology has advanced over 5 years faster than it would have because of the pandemic. So I think this is a really exciting time because change has happened, and now we can't really go back on that. We can't say we can't change anymore. Like we can't be stuck in our ways. Like this is a time for change, and it's a time to develop. And I think this is an excellent time to join or continue within the industry.
Yeah, I love it. And Olajide, what are you most excited about when you think about the next couple of years in hospitality?
I don't know. I think when I always tell people when they're looking for jobs in hospitality is that there's so much more to hospitality than just bar, kitchen, and floor. That the avenues are endless. Like I think everyone's kind of said it already, is that you can come in and do whatever. And I think with one thing I found with hospitality, that it is very much like you can come and create your own. I mean, I create my job that I'm in at the moment. I created it for myself. You can literally mold your own job if you harness the power to do so. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about the hospitality sector. You can't really say that for everything else. You can't go into pharmaceuticals and make yourself a role, can you really? And I think I personally always say that if you're coming into hospitality, don't come here because you want to make money, because that's not. I don't know. I always feel like that's not the right aim when you come into hospitality. You come into hospitality because you want a close family, a close knit of friends. You want to progress your career. You want to learn new skills, and you've got a kind of a goal of where you want to go in your career, and you want to get there kind of quite quickly. You can do that here in hospitality. There's loads of other industries where you can go and make loads of money, but you'll be quite stagnant and you won't learn anything. So it depends on what your goal is.
Yeah, that makes sense. So look, it sounds like there's real positive energy behind it, right? Andrew, from thousands, if not millions, more jobs to be made, to some of the comments, just how many different kinds of jobs. And Naomi, I love your point, and I completely agree. It's one of the reasons we do what we do. There's just so many corners to hospitality, and you literally can write your own job description. I think is a fab point. Let's get on to the tougher side of the industry. I'd really love to actually. Both of you had a couple of questions in, and I know Sylvia, you had a question on this as well. What are some of the biggest challenges that the industry is facing, I suppose, in making it an exciting place to work? And maybe some personal reflections. What are some of the biggest challenges you're facing as you think about both being a leader in the industry and I suppose being an individual in the industry? Trudy, we were specifically asked if you had a comment on this, so it'd be great to start with you if that's okay.
I think just making sure that everybody's looked after. I think that is the biggest thing, because the journey is there is hard work to be had. There are sometimes long hours. There's sometimes lots of commitment. And I think that it's about making sure that stays on the agenda. And I think that has changed so much, especially over this period, and has come to the forefront. Flexibility is going to be much more important, and that sometimes is hard in the hospitality industry. How do we make that work? How do we make that something that is we look at things differently? Because especially in the hotel industry, there's lots of things that have been the same way for a long time, and I think that this has forced the agenda of how do we look at getting housekeepers doing things differently to make that more flexible. How do we make front of house more flexible? How do we encourage those people to come in and they're getting it's very important that it meets their values, and that's more and more about when people are looking for jobs now. It's not just about it's the right price and the right location. It's about is it gonna make me feel good? Am I gonna feel okay when I go home? Does it fit my family? Does it all those kind of things? And it's about that, and making sure that the job is more than a job. We all know it's more than a job because we're still in it and we like it and we love it and all that kind of stuff. But it's making sure that people get that, and that comes at the forefront. And especially for young people coming to the industry who've maybe been through an awful time at school and college and university and all those changes and all those kind of things, because they've not necessarily had the experience that others have had or I had, and coming in and making sure that they're looked after when they come in. I think that is got to be the biggest thing, and it's on my agenda every single day.
Yeah. And Andrew, a question for you: how flexible can we really be? Because obviously, you at something like IHG, you have thousands of hotels to run. Naomi, when you're working at a football stadium, it's like, well, you got that many thousand people who all need food at that time. But Andrew, as I suppose one of the larger employers here, would love to get a sense. Do you think we can be as flexible as people need, or will actually hospitality always be defined by quite hard work and some quite long shifts and potentially antisocial hours as well?
I think it depends who you ask, because quite often people say, well, no, that's kind of how it is, and that's how hospitality's been run. But I don't think that's the case at all. And I think actually, there's a silver lining in events like a pandemic, and you have to look for those at all times to remain positive. And some of the things that have happened during the pandemic is they've forced workplace cultures forward and practices. And I think we've probably accelerated 10 years faster than what we would have done if the pandemic hadn't have been here. So I often kind of look back to that to try and feel motivated about the fact that it's still pretty challenging for all of us, probably on the call, and most people listening in the background. But there is absolutely opportunity, and don't want this to be sort of a self-promotional thing, but if you look at our Australia business, our JPAC business, which is the Japan and Pacific Island business that we have at the minute, we've just launched something called MyFlex, which if you haven't heard about it, go onto LinkedIn. There's a bunch of articles, there's a bunch of great things been written about it. But essentially it is, you kind of make your own hours. You decide when you want to work, how you want to work, during what periods. And there's some logistics that go around it. But they've just launched that across all of Australia and are saying, look, we know there's a bunch of great people that could come and work for us if we had hours that would suit them. And you're right, we run thousands of hotels. So why wouldn't we have hours? Why couldn't we be creative about how we bring and source staff and get them to come in? And that really brings diversity with it, because it brings people from all sorts of different backgrounds that perhaps haven't considered the industry as an option before. So, it's not just in Australia, but we're trying to challenge ourselves across the whole of our business. And actually, the Skills Academy that we've launched is about people that don't work for IHG yet, but it's about giving them the opportunity to learn, build confidence and competence over time, and so that they can come and join our business in a variety of different roles. And we're really trying to encourage people from all sorts of different backgrounds, whether that be from, I talked about sort of some of the socioeconomic challenges I'd had, or whether that be because they're from an underrepresented group, or whether that be that, in that part of the world, they're not able to work historically, whatever that might be. We really want to try and help break down some of those barriers and create a place where people can build confidence, build their skills, and then hopefully make that transition into work. So the answer is a resounding yes. We can be flexible, we should be, and everybody should be pushing themselves and asking that question again. Just because we've not done it historically doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it going forward.
Yeah. No, really, thanks, Andrew. That's really, really helpful, and some great examples there. And Naomi, I suppose you don't just represent yourself, you're representing actually a community of young people who are all trying to figure out their own paths in different parts of hospitality. What's their lived experience? Do you think they're seeing some of this flexibility? Are they still wanting to work in hospitality? And if so, why? What is it that you think has changed that holds that appeal?
Absolutely. I think this kind of, next generation, they just want to feel valued. And I think that's so very, what's the word I'm looking for? In this kind of, lost my train of thought completely there. They just want to feel valued. And I think moving forward, that's something that is really integral, was the word I was looking for, integral into the kind of development of the hospitality industry. And I think when it comes to flexibility, it's interesting because as a student, the unsociable hours were more suitable to me at some points. But then when I came out of university, I was very much like, those hours are not quite as suitable as at the time. So that flexibility, I think, is really key, and that kind of feeling valued and feeling, because that's what's going to be important for the attraction and retaining of staff. So I think as young people, that's kind of what we're seeing and what we're kind of looking for within hospitality. But I do think it's still we're all still here. And I think with Event Grads, what we find was this community, and the same will be with Otolo, finding others in the same position as you, and finding people that are there to help and bringing this information to them, having a centralized hub, I think is so important, because we've had a lot of people being like, we would have left the industry if it wasn't for Event Grads. And I'm sure you're feeling the exact same with Otolo, and getting people like, thank God I found this information, or found these people, or this platform. So I think community one is the way forward. And to just being able to find others that are in the same position is really what's going to, I think, support that attraction and retaining in the industry.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Olajide, obviously, kind of in the restaurant world, those antisocial hours almost define, right, the restaurant life, because that just is when things are busy. How does an organisation like Turf Bay, or you're supporting, think about bringing people back into hospitality? What are some of the challenges they're facing, and what are some of the conversations being had?
I think people want more than just, this is what you get, a competitive pay, you get this many holiday days. They want more than the basics, or you get 50% off your food, you get food on shift. People want more than that now. Like for me, when I was starting hospitality, I was like, oh my God, you get free food, that's amazing. Whereas now it's like, yeah, of course I get free food, I bloody work in a restaurant. So now people are like, okay, what are you doing around well-being? What's your E&I strategy look like for the year? People want to know more about the business. They want to be involved. They want to have a voice. They want to feel valued, and they want more than just the standard benefits. They want, there's so many amazing benefit concepts that you can get now with working in places. People want things like healthcare, dental. They want to feel protected when they're working. And they're happy to do the unsociable hours. Well, some people are, some people aren't. Those that are happy to do it will do it if they're recognised properly for it, and they're given the right benefits, and they're moved along on their career pathway, and they can see progression, and they're trained. It's more than just coming in and doing the day-to-day job now. It's more about creating a pathway for yourself, I think, and also valuing your people a lot more than what we ever have before. I know that we've just recently at Turtle Bay, we've just done some, we just relaunched our brand purpose and vision this year and did a bit of a roadshow. And I think one of the key things that we picked up on was recognition. Like everyone, we get recognized and we do loads of really cool, amazing things that are quite on a big scale, but actually we just want like the smaller recognition for like picking up an extra shift. It's funny because we all, if in our everyday lives, if we do little things in our everyday lives, everyone likes a little, oh, thank you for that, or like, well done. And actually, when you're working in a working environment, you forget about thanking people for the small things. And I think that's what people are just like, I just want to be thanked for like picking up a shift, or like picking up an extra table, or staying 5 minutes later. Like, and it's just the small things. I think we forget about them as businesses get bigger and bigger. So for a lot of hospitality business out there, I think it's more about focusing on your people and really listening to what they have to say. And for us, we've started doing a lot more listening groups and listening to our people a lot more. And actually, that's been really, really useful, just having your ears to the ground.
Yeah, really helpful. Really helpful. Thanks. So one thing I really definitely want to talk about, we're talking about bringing young people into the industry from just all kinds of backgrounds. A few of you have mentioned feeling valued and recognition, but the topic of wellness and the topic of diversity inclusion has definitely come up a couple of times just in our short chat together. So we'd just love to have a think about, if someone is thinking about coming to the industry now, how are we considering those things, and how are we making sure that the industry kind of takes care of their needs in those areas? Ola DJ, you obviously live this every day. Maybe you could kick us off and share some perspectives.
How long have we got?
You have 7 minutes, and everyone has to have a turn.
I think for me, the most important things that, like I said before earlier, is education. I think for us at Turtle Bay, what we found is being really, really empowering and powerful for us, and changing the conversation and moving the dial is education. It's, we can't expect everyone to know everything about diversity, inclusion, equity, and to know everything about how to be an anti-racist and how to deal with gender equality and how to deal with pronouns. And there's so much involved in this space that you cannot think that everyone's going to know it. So actually what you need to do is invest in training, invest in getting professionals in or getting experts in to talk to your teams about these subject matters, because actually that for us has been really powerful. Just like creating a conversation around the right language. But again, like I say this to everyone I ever speak to about this space, it's great to do it internally and to do all this training, but your leaders of your business need to be the ones that are really pushing this conversation, because if they change the way that they talk and they change their viewpoint, then the people internally will automatically change. And then you'll start attracting more talent because people will be interested in what you're doing, and actually your recruitment problems will start to fall away, because actually you're having this inclusive environment and you're having this inclusive language, and everyone's like, oh my god, what are they doing? They're amazing. And yeah, you'll be attracting people left, right and centre. So for me, it's all about education. Education is power.
Yeah, brilliant. I love the fact you're talking about not just training, right, but you're actually talking about the conversation. A big part of that education is just people talking and people sharing their experiences, and people listening, I think, is key. Trudy, I know that kind of gender issues you mentioned right up front are really important to you. Maybe you could kind of wade in and share some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's about transparency. It's about training. It's about policy, and not just being policy. It's about it being lived and breathed and owned and talked about, and not just in a drawer or in a file, or it has to be real. It's all and empowerment and employee voice and is the most important thing, and everybody's got a voice at the table, and I think that's something that definitely at Molly's, that's what we're doing, and continual development of everybody, because it's not something that just stops, and it's right now. It's an ongoing thing that we all need to be educated more. We all need to be calling out. We all need to be part of the change, and own our place at the table. So I think it's something that I'm massively passionate about, and it has certainly been a journey for me over the years, and I will continue to empower and cheerlead as much as I can through life, to make sure that everybody feels they've got that voice as well.
Lovely. Great. Look, so I have one last question, and actually this I'm going to throw out to the audience as well, but just to kind of keep that chat kind of coming, but definitely something for you all to think about. Part one of the question is, how do you know a hospitality career is right for you? You know, what do you typically want to be into? What do you typically want to be about? If you feel like you should give hospitality a go, I'd love to just kind of answer that question. That's kind of part one. Part two is, in those first few months, how do you start to do some of the things you've just talked about? How do you speak up? How do you make yourself heard on issues you're passionate about, like mental health and diversity and that kind of thing? So yeah, that was definitely one for the community. Feel free to jot down, like, what was it that meant you knew that you were into hospitality, is kind of part one. And part two is, how do you have that conversation at work about, you know, the conversations you want to have, like mental health and diversity? Naomi, you absolutely know hospitality is for you, and you work with a load of young people just starting in the industry. I'm definitely going to start with you on this one, if that's okay.
Yeah, in regards to kind of how you know it's for you, I think it's that it doesn't feel like work kind of thing, where you're there and you're having conversations with people and you're having fun. I feel like whenever I'm kind of in a position that I'm really enjoying, it doesn't feel like work. I'm like, it just comes out of you without it kind of being an effort. I don't know if that makes sense, but I absolutely thrive. I'm smiling, I'm enjoying it. It's and you can come away from it being like, that was I did a really good job, or you came away from it and you're like, it's been really good fun. I don't know. That's how I feel anyway. I come away, it's a feeling. I think it's internal. It's not forced, and I think that's kind of how you know it's for you. And I think getting that experience in different areas to figure out where those feelings come from, because being in, like, I wonder if maybe reception I wasn't as much like that, but within like events I was, so I've kind of figured that out through experience.
Love it. Thank you. That's fab. Andrew, thoughts?
Yeah, I think hospitality is right for you if you don't know what you want to do, actually, because you can do a bit of everything. And I think everyone's alluded to that on the call. You can end up working with customers. You can end up working behind the scenes. You can end up working in a finance type role, in a marketing type role, in a sales type role. If you're in the restaurant side of it, if I think back to when I started in a bar and a restaurant, I worked behind the bar, then I worked in the restaurant, then I did cellar work, then I worked in the kitchen, then I did a supervisor role. And so, this is, if you don't know what you want to do, it's the perfect industry to come and be a part of. And actually, the skills that you gain in our industry will serve you in any other organization and any other company and any other job in the world. So even if hospitality is not for you for life, you'll gain skills that will be.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Love that. Other DJ, thoughts?
Kind of repeat everything everyone said, really. I don't think hospitality is prescriptive. I think it's one of those industries, like you said, that you can come in and you can do a bit of everything. You can try and find your feet. And if it's not for you, you pick up some amazing skills along the way. I think that's the one thing that I always say to people, is that it might not be the industry for you, but actually the skills that you pick up in the industry, you can use anywhere. And actually that's pretty beneficial. And actually as well, hospitality is the one industry where we do so much extra training and on-the-job training. So there's loads of different training courses that you can undergo within hospitality that you can then take and use elsewhere. So I would say if you don't know if hospitality is for you, try it. You won't miss out by doing it, and it's a win-win situation. And you'll probably make quite a few amazing friends and good contacts. So yeah, thumbs up.
What could be better? What could be better? Fantastic. And Trudy, a few final thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people fall into or don't necessarily think that, or didn't know that was their career. And for me, especially, it just gives you stepping stones, as everybody said. It gives you stepping stones through life and different careers and different areas of hospitality, and that opens your transferable skills up for life. And once you're in it, sometimes you don't want to ever leave.
Lovely. Fantastic. That is brilliant. Look, we are always pretty committed to keeping to time. I'm sure we could keep this conversation going probably most of the afternoon and into the evening. But I really appreciate everyone's time for sharing thoughts, preparing thoughts and sharing with us today. Some really important discussions to be had. But I think one thing that shines through is just our crazy passion for the industry. And I think actually doesn't make us strange. I think a lot of people who get started in hospitality, whether it be hotels like you, Trudy, whether DJ your time in restaurants, Naomi your time in events and festivals, like it's so easy to find your passion because you work with great teams, you do fun stuff, you get stuck in serving customers and creating experiences. So loads of comments coming in, which I will kind of keep going, but lots of thoughts. So that's it from kind of me at Otolo. We'd love you to join up to Otolo at myotolo.com. It's a free mentoring community where we do try and build connections and connect people. There's so much more to come next year. Andrew, great to have you here. I know you had another meeting to dash off to, but do you want to share a few final thoughts from IHG and Skills Academy?
Yeah, of course. Look, thanks everybody, all the guest speakers today for coming on. I really appreciate it, and thanks James for your efforts to get us all coordinated and in one spot, and using StreamYard and the power of the Otolo community. It's really appreciated, and for everyone that's taken the time to join, and hopefully we'll listen back to this in the future. There is a space for you in hospitality from whatever background you are in, and whatever barrier you are facing, there is a space for you here. And I'll use this as one last plug for the IHG Skills Academy, www.ihgskillsacademy.com. It's completely free, accessible on any device, anywhere in the world, all free learning, how to operate in the hospitality industry, mental health and well-being, all sorts of resources. They're there for you. Please pass them on to anybody who you think would benefit from using those resources and materials. Pass them on to your charity partners that you work with, and please pass the word around your network. And this is the first of many, so hopefully we might see some of the guest speakers again later in the year. Hint, hint. I might come knocking on your door because you've all been great. And look out for more comms and communications on that in the future. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll catch you all soon.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.
Take care all. Bye. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.